Well, we'll go ahead and do a highlight video here for you on ATS Radio for our ATS YouTube page. On game 337, 338 between Penn State and Indiana. Penn State 6.5 point favorite in this one. Total in the 58.5 to 59.5 range has gone up a little bit here from the open, but I'm joined, of course, by pro bettor and handicapper Kyle Hunter from huntersportspicks.com. And Kyle, what are your thoughts here on Penn State and Indiana?
Well, for this game, Journey Brown out indefinitely, according to reports, hurts him quite a bit. He averaged 6.8 yards per carry last year. Look, that's a big loss no matter what. And I will say Penn State's deep at running back, so it doesn't hurt them as bad as some other teams would be hurt. Kane's a good backup. I think Penn State, Sean Clifford's been a bit better than I thought he would be at quarterback for them. So I like their quarterback situation pretty well. They don't have amazing wide receivers. Their offensive line is decent. Penn State's not really known as a great offensive line team. And you have to point out that Micah Parsons, a lot of people thought could have been maybe the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and then he opts out. So that was a really big loss. I don't think Penn State has the same upside that they did if they had those two guys. Still, at the same time, Penn State's clearly a good team. As you look at this, Indiana has been much better defensively under Allen. I think he's done a really good job turning this team around. And Ramsey left Indiana, but the reason he left Indiana is they have Michael Penix, who really is very good. He was really good when he was healthy last year. So if he's going to be healthy, I think Indiana has a good offense. The one question Indiana has on offense is their offensive line. That does concern me a bit with Penn State having a strong defensive line. Obviously, their defensive line not quite as good as what it's been in the past because you lose Gross-Matos and then also Windsor on the defensive line. You're not going to have a top 2 or 3 defensive line in the country like you had last year, but Penn State's still a top 10 defensive line type of team. In this game, as far as the spread right now, seeing 6.5 on Indiana, I'd like to get 7. I think Indiana plus 7 would be a good play. We might be able to get a 7, especially at a public shop or something like that. But at the same time, Indiana, a team that I think at least has a chance to win this game. I'm not calling my shot anything here, saying that Indiana is going to win this game. But I think that Penn State's been a bit inconsistent in these games before. We've seen them have really good efforts under James Franklin. We've also seen them have really mediocre efforts. So I don't think they're a team that I trust a lot to be laying points with. In this one, I would lean toward Indiana plus the points. What about you?
My line on this game, 7.5. Again, the Journey Brown and the Micah Parsons things are concerning for Penn State, but they are factored into my power rating here for this game. So I do have it a little bit on the plus side there of the key number. A couple of things that are interesting, I think, to try and figure out about this game. The first is, how is this Indiana offense without Kalen DeBoer? Kalen DeBoer was such an awesome offensive coordinator. He winds up going back to Fresno State now as the head coach. Nick Sheridan, who was the quarterback's coach, takes over for Indiana. So the offense will remain the same pretty much. The difference is, they've got Penix now starting over Ramsey. They kind of had the timeshare and, all those kinds of things. So that's my question is, was it DeBoer? Was it what Sheridan's done with the quarterbacks? Can Penix continue to keep this Indiana offense at the level that it was at last season? Because if that's the case, as you said, Tom Allen has done phenomenal things with this defense. He was a good defensive coordinator here. He's turned out to be a pretty good head coach here. The concern that I have is every time we get one of these middle of the pack teams in a Power 5 conference that everybody wants to get behind. A lot of people call Indiana a bye team. I know you and I talked about it before we started doing the show, that you also like the Hoosiers here this season. I'm always skeptical of those teams. Will they make that jump? Because if Indiana wants to be a bye team, wants to move up a tier in this conference, this is the type of upset you have to pull off. Are they ready to do it is the question for me. Until I see it, I'll err on the side of caution and look the Penn State way. Not going to lay the 6.5 here. I think this is a game with some live betting opportunities to see how both of these teams come out. Because again, we're seeing the Big Ten for the first time. We have our thoughts, we have our intuitions, we have our confidence levels in these teams, but we've yet to see them actually get on the field. So for me, I lean Penn State. I want to look to live bet Penn State because I think that they're kind of more proven in these types of games. But again, I can see why people like the potential of Indiana. I just want to see it before I can believe in it.
I think that's fair. And like I said, I won't bet Indiana at plus 6.5. So I don't have a strong thought on this game without it being at 7. As far as the total, since, I am a totals guy in large part, I will say this one was bet over. And I feel like I should have bet the over in this one. Penn State is a team that I would like to bet overs with this year. I think their defense is down a decent amount from last year. I think their offense is still going to be very good. On the other side, though, I didn't know what Indiana would be offensively. I assume they'll keep playing at a fast tempo with the new offensive coordinator. We'll see. Indiana's defense is quite a bit better than they've been in recent years. To me, over is the only way I could bet it even now at this point, but it's no great value anymore.
So we don't necessarily have a consensus opinion on this game for you on our ATS YouTube channel, but again, look for situations to live bet. Consider the fact that, sometimes you get these teams that have a lot of helium and maybe they don't live up to it, or maybe they do. But, again, as Kyle said, the importance of the number here too. If it gets to 7, that completely changes the dynamic of this handicap. Whereas at 6.5, maybe I lean Penn State. It's a stay away game for Kyle, but at 7, he likes the Indiana side a little bit. So again, market entry, very important. A lot of the topics that we talk about on our full editions of ATS Radio, which you can hear if you subscribe to us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you stream and download your podcast content.